Welcome everyone to the Chronicles of Chiron, the Lion, the Witch, and the Healer. My name is Chrystopher. I'm the AstroMedium. Jessica, introduce yourself for everyone.
I'm Jessica Tanselle, medium, spiritual teacher, and healer, and I'm so excited to be here tonight. We weren't here last week. We're so glad to be back. Thank you for your patience.
That's right. So I haven't been on in 2 weeks, I think, because the time before we missed last week, but the time before you were interviewing Jeff, I believe, which was an amazing interview. So I hope we can live up to that. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about Chiron, of course, since this is the Chronicles of Chiron. And I think you and I are going to dive into some healing techniques, especially breath work. And I want to talk about that because it's something I'm trying to incorporate into my life. And I know it's something that you and I have talked about before. And I think it's really important. And it's kind of really mundane, actually, really basic when you think about it. Why not use the life intaking force that you already utilize on a daily basis and use it to your benefit and reprogram yourself that way? So, well, first, let me talk to you a little bit about breath work. So you've introduced some new breath work ideas to me before. One of them in particular that I've done a lot of reading about is Effiji breath work. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your experience with breath work.
So I actually have done some studying of breath work as well, and it's something that I incorporate into my work, into my circles, into my meditations, and something that I'm still learning more about. So with Effiji, and I have a good friend, my friend Sarah Sharmoli.
Oh yeah, she's the director of, yeah.
She and I did plays together at St. X.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, she's the sweetest, cutest little redhead.
The redhead girl, right?
Yeah, I love it. And her energy, you guys, is amazing. So I have had one experience with Effiji breath, and it was phenomenal. We actually did it at Healing Within. I thought it was going to be sweet and quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have pissed off a practitioner because I did not know. I did not know that Effiji was really intense. And really, with Effiji...
What were you expecting when you went in?
You're going to take my breath work. You're going to take a nice, slow, deep breath in and expand your lungs and allow your breath to... My breath work,
so,
right?
Well, your breath work...
So,
because before we get in too deep into each one, because I want to talk about each one, I definitely am going to talk about holotropic breathing as well.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Different. So I want to talk about these so people know where to go, which one might they lean toward. But I want to start really basic. So before we go too much...
basic.
Yeah, before we go into Effiji, tell me about the breath work you incorporate and how that's different. Because when we think about breath work, it can get real, ooh, I need to learn something. Well, you're kind of just relearning to breathe deeply. That's really the first place you want to start, because we take such shallow breaths when we are not being mindful. And we are in higher states of anxiety and worry and stress, our breath gets more shallow, and that triggers the fight or flight responses and less oxygen to the brain. And so it all kind of makes sense, and we're going back to basics here. So when we talk about just basic breathing, the first thing I think about is meditation. So absolutely, meditation being the focusing on that breath. So where do we go from there?
So that's actually, when I teach meditation, that is where I recommend you starting, is just by allowing yourself to focus on your breath coming in and your breath going out. You're allowing the breath to fill your lungs, and you're allowing the breath to leave. What that does is it just trains your mind to refocus on something, to focus on your breath. And your breath is bringing healing energy in and focusing on anything that needs to be released going out. That is your basic breath and your basic meditation. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will even say, I can't. It's okay if you can't. It's retraining you. Your mind will wander. It might go to your to-do list. It might go to a past life. It might connect you with a guide. Let it, and then realize when you've lost focus from your breath, notice what's come up because it's come up for a reason, and then return to your breath. So that is your most basic form of breath work.
And I would say that if you're focusing on your breath in a meditation, you're being more mindful, which means you're taking more time to breathe deeper than you normally would. Because just like in acting class, filling the diaphragm, or vocal classes, filling the diaphragm, I remember as a kid feeling like, oh, I don't normally breathe like this. I don't normally breathe this deep. So it's like,
I want to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are many reasons we actually don't breathe that deep. And this actually, you brought it up a second time for a reason, because I have seen from trauma, and I have seen from what we've been taught as dancers and theater people is, yes, we're taught to expand that diaphragm, but you better suck it in.
Right.
So as a people, we are taught to suck it in. So we suck it in because we want to look like this person who doesn't actually have a belly, and we do.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, hold your core in. However, when you're breathing, you want your belly to expand, to let as much life force in as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you slow down your breath, you're slowing down your nervous system. They're telling me also it helps the lymphatic, because they keep telling me lymphatic. And that was something I didn't know. But it slows everything down. It allows the life force to fill your organs, your body, and go everywhere, not just here for the breath, but to fill the body. And what you'll notice is as you practice with that breath work, it is slowing your body down. And if you allow it every day, you're allowing yourself some peace and quiet in your body every day, whether it's a minute, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, there's no set time, but that will slow things down. Also with that breath work, when you're slowing things down, you'll notice that your breath, as you get used to breathing deeper and slower, you also are allowing yourself to expand your breath more and longer. And that comes into play when you're doing movements or walking or working out, or maybe even different in your meditation. So I notice in my yoga, I'm able to hold my breath longer. I'm able to flow with the move longer. So you can utilize it when you're having anxiety, where your breath might be, because mine will get that. Now, I don't have the panic attacks where I'll totally be out of breath, but they do.
You're right. You
so when I get into that, which is,
feel the constriction.
Yes, that is also closer to Effiji, and we're going to get into that in a second.
Yes.
But when I slow my breath down, I can bring my anxiety back.
Yes, and I've done Kundalini yoga, and there's a lot of controversy going on right now about Kundalini yoga, but the practice in and of itself, they really teach you. There's so many different types of breath. So before we get into Effiji, I'm going to segue into Kundalini yoga and different types of yogas, because meditation is kind of your basic starting place. You can just sit somewhere, focus on your breath. We understand that breathing opens the blood vessels. Deeper breaths stimulate different nerve activity, oxygen to the brain, blood to the brain, so many different physiological and energetic components to taking in that life force and that oxygen. So we can go scientific, we can go spiritual, because it's the science for both and the experience of both is there. And then going into Kundalini yoga, for instance, or different types of yogas, or where there's movement, but there's very specific types of breath. Like in Kundalini yoga, there's the breath of fire, which is you do like this.
Are the hands like this?
They're like this. Your fingers.
Okay, I couldn't see your hands. So
touch the palms like this, and then you close your eyes and you look up and in here at the third eye, and then you through your nose. Equal in and out breaths. So, and sometimes they do it for 5 minutes. You're like, they even tell you, do not do this if you're pregnant or on your cycle, because it will open things up. And there have been people doing breath of fire who've passed out, probably because they either weren't doing it correctly or something was coming up and it was just so intense. Okay, something may have been
Sure.
trying to leave. Breath of fire can stimulate emotions to come up, but it stimulates a lot of other things too. There's so many different things happening there, but there are different breaths within all the yogas and Kundalini yoga, not just breath of fire, but that's an example that in and out equal. It's training you to do something different. And there's even one they do while you're doing a movement where you like breathe in through the mouth and then out through the nose, and they're different timing. And it is actually retraining you. They say that we learn our breathing habit, our breathing from our mother in the womb.
Yeah.
So if she was under a lot of stress, if she was smoking, which they did, okay?
Yeah, they did.
Pretty sure
I did.
Yep, I'm pretty sure mom was doing it while she was pregnant with me.
Probably drinking a little too.
Maybe. I hope she never watches this. But that will pass on to us as well, or we'll learn that there. So it's, we do have to unlearn a lot of things. And something as basic as breathing can be like, oh my God, I got to relearn that too. And it's like, well, actually, if you start there, everything else might actually have a firmer foundation. So this is where there are many ways that you can, without even knowing it, that's what these yogas do, is the more you do it, you're building a muscle up and your breathing changes. There's a lot of energetic and brain components to yoga and meditation, okay? Increasing dark matter, so many, your consciousness expanding, so many things.
Sure.
But then even just the breath in it is causing a healing or a change to the physicality even. So that's why I want to go even deeper into, in just a moment, Effiji, holotropic, because these are intense types of breath work.
I want to talk about those too, and I also want to add to, real quick, another technique that helps with the right brain, left brain to really get things flowing. Mm-hmm. And that one, and I don't know the exact name of it, so if anybody knows the name of that and wants to comment, but if you put your thumb on one nostril, breathe in, switch, breathe out, breathe in, switch, breathe out. I use that one often too, and it's really good at getting that energy flow.
Now, I'm not going to claim that I know for a fact that came from Kundalini yoga or the yogas. I'm sure it did come from the yogas, maybe not Kundalini in particular, but they do that as well for specific meditations. And it's like this, or it's like that. And they actually, even for people who are having trouble sleeping, if you lay on your right side and you breathe, or lay on your left, I may not be getting that right, but sure, you got to breathe out of your left nostril, because the left is the moon side and this is this. So this is the, if you breathe out of that, it calms you. And there's a physiological and neurological sequencing. Gosh, I'm trying to use words that don't sound so ridiculous.
No, that makes sense. And I want to add to that, because I feel us getting into Effiji and holotropic here in a second. And I just want to add what we're talking about so far. This is a great way to feel, like you said, connected in a consciousness, but connected in the language I use, connected to your higher self, connected to your spirit guides, your ancestors, your spiritual self. This type of breath work and this meditation, you don't have to know all the answers. It's just helping you to be connected with you.
Right. Yes. There's something very basic about it. Yes.
As we get into Effiji and holotropic now, I don't know holotropic, so I'm going to tell you about Effiji.
And then yes.
And I only know, I don't know a lot about Effiji. I'm telling you my experience.
Yes. And that is enough for right now.
Sure. And we'll tell, Sarah Sharmola can help more later.
Yes.
But with Effiji, it is a quicker breath,
mm-hmm,
and it is all through the mouth. And what I experienced was trauma leaving the body, and it is not meant to be a painful experience. I did have a painful experience because there was so much leaving through my hand chakras. And she was right there with me going, push through it, keep breathing, you've got it. And I was screaming. However, that was not the experience for all the ladies.
Right.
But what it does is through that breath, everything's cycling, and I don't know all the terms for it either, but the breath is cycling, and through my hand chakras, the trauma was leaving. We've done different journey work, different detox work, and this was just another form of helping the trauma leave my body. Yeah. Our body hangs on to things. And yes, we've got the memories. We've got the past lives and this life, and we've got all the memories there, and we can work through them different ways because Chris and I do. However, this was able to leave the body in a different way, and I didn't have to work through a lot of memories. I was more focused on what was leaving. Others may experience more of the going through the memories of experiencing, a full ceremony journey in that as well. It was powerful. I loved it. I loved the loud music and intense. It's powerful healing work. And I recommend you all try that.
For those
all of these will allow you to heal through a journey. It would, no matter what breath work. When I do breath work and Reiki in my ceremonies in real slow, you can get healing and deep wounds going and come through there in slow breath work or very quick breath work. With Effiji, it's from what I remember, it's been a little while. It was like right before COVID that I did this.
Yeah, it's quick.
The week of,
Yes, it's not a normal way of breathing. So this sound, for those of you who are not familiar with this, it's EFFIJI, okay? And this is a specific type of breath work that is taught. And if I have experienced holotropic breathing or holotropic, I'm not real I'm sure it's holotropic, but okay. What the fuck ever.
I have no idea.
It is very similar to your experience. So, and I would recommend doing it with practitioners, because you just like you work out harder when you have a trainer, okay? You're going to get more results, because when I did it by myself at home, which they recommended not to, I definitely gave up too soon. And then when I did it in person with someone, it was a completely different experience. Both sent me into a odd, like, when I talk a lot, or especially when I'm crying really heavily and my breath is doing something, I'll notice that my face will fall asleep, my hands will get tingly, everything gets real tingly and warm. And that happens when I'm really experiencing a lot of emotion, or sadness and grief, or expressing that. And then when I felt it during holotropic breathing, I was like, this is the same feeling I get during crying. So I can't tell, but intense crying. I now realize that when you're crying and you can't catch your breath and everything, it might be the body's way of getting you to do some type of automatic breath work. Like, it's just innately in the crying. I don't know how to describe that, but the fact that when I'm crying, it gave me that same feeling, and it's so much blood being pumped to the brain so much faster, but it's a different type of breath than Effiji, but it's very similar to what you described. There's music going on in the background. It is designed to put you into a trance-like state, and you do at some point just start going, I can't breathe like this anymore. Yeah. I can't do this. And that's where they're like, you need to keep doing it. And it's like, no, this just doesn't feel right. And then at some point you just kind of lose track of it. But that's after, maybe if this was my 50th time doing holotropic breathing, I'd be like, oh yeah, you get into it and you just know what to expect. The first 10 minutes will feel like this. And then after that, you'll feel like this. It takes you somewhere. And once you stick through that, oh my gosh, I don't know who just said that.
Please tell me what they said.
Oh my God. You know what they said? Oh my God. See, this might be guide. Someone I'm not really sure how to personify them yet, but this is really funny. They said it's like anal sex.
Oh shit.
Don't say that now. That is funny.
Oh, you guys, you cannot make up the things we get in these.
They were like, yes, kind of like anal sex. And they were kind of telling me, because I'm constantly, this is TMI as fuck, but I'm like, when am I going to be good at it? When am I going to be able to take it? You know, because I want to be able to do that for my man. But I'm somebody, I can't get through the first hump. That's not even right either. So I'm like, but bitches, excuse me, we're on live.
Let me readjust my seat.
People say when you're getting a tattoo, your endorphins kick in and then you just don't feel anything. And I'm like, who the fuck and who was doing your tattoo? Because I have them all over and I never ever went, it's gone. That never fucking happened. Okay. And so with this breath work, we need to be mindful going in. God, no pun intended. That it is work. That's why they call it breath work. Okay. And it is not pleasant. Just like doing plant medicine or going to therapy, you are intentionally going to
work.
Get your stitches taken out. Okay.
Yes.
And sometimes before it's healed, to get it to heal. So it's just unpleasant in certain ways. But what this breath work does physiologically, because some people go into it for a spiritual experience, some people do holotropic breathing to have holotropic breathing at some point when you've done it long enough. This is about an hour in. There are sessions where people are doing this for hours. I actually don't know if I could ever do that. Okay. But that's what they recommend. Mm-hmm. You enter altered states of consciousness. And that's because the brain begins to create and release things like DMT, okay, which are obviously in ayahuasca and things like that. So your brain makes those things. Your brain is the pharmacy. Your brain can make any chemical. It has the capability to do that. That's why the placebo effect works. The breath is that's why there's chanting. That's why there's ceremony work in all these ancient cultures where they would, they would do things. They were moving their physical. That's the Sufis. The Sufis, the way they spin around. Have you ever seen that? There's a very spiritual sector of Islam called Sufism. Mm-hmm. Very metaphysical and spiritual, the way they look at consciousness, and it's part of Islam, I'm pretty sure. And they do this spinning, and it kind of just, I don't know if they just get so dizzy, but that moves them into an altered state where they can become more one. This is how we can physically amp something up to, and gosh, the way they're showing it to me is like you're pumping up a shoe and you're getting it to be bigger than it is so that your body can hold more of that energy. I'm getting it. And that's where you're able to access all what's in the subconscious. And breath work might not be correct for everyone at this time, but we all breathe. So when I think about breath work, I'm kind of like, anyone can do this and start somewhere and receive a benefit. I have been doing breath of fire and all of a sudden just immediately started crying. And I was like, whoa, that was cool. Because I can do that with songs, but you have to access a certain memory when you're trying to make yourself cry, when you know you need to cry and you need to go do it. It was different when I wasn't expecting it, and it was like, bam, because it actually released something that was probably tied up and knotted and clogged, and it just let it out. And it was the breath. There's reasons for all this too. If you go into different yogas,
different mudras, yes.
You know, that all is doing something with your brain as well. And with Effiji, I'm sure that they probably have you lying down, or yes, and in holotropic as well, because they're like, you're going to be there a while. Mm-hmm. So the healing factor of these things is very similar to if you were to do plant medicine or do EMDR, where they move there's either a machine or the therapist uses their hands. You are just getting out of your own way to access certain parts of you that are not normally readily available, or that you are not normally functioning within. And that's where all of it is beginning, in that subconscious and unconscious mind. And the breath really is your gateway. Even in all the other ones we mentioned, you're breathing during those too, okay? So
you can also do tantric breath work, which you can do with a partner to bring in that intimacy through breath work, which is really powerful. And they show me that the energy is cycling between the two of you all, and your auras are blended together. And that's something that I'm so curious about working with and looking more into, because it's really beautiful the way we can build that intimacy together through breath work. And that doesn't have to be a sexual partner. You know, it can be a friend where you all are building that energy, and it doesn't have to be sexual energy. It can be, you know, a building of power. There are different ways to utilize that energy. So definitely.
Well, you know what? I do notice that during those times that I am letting certain things happen that I don't normally let happen because it hurts so much, I'm not breathing. I'm waiting for it to happen. So now I just realized that might actually help me a lot if I had somebody who
breathe with you.
Yeah, so this is all actually making sense. So I think I've come to a new conclusion, okay?
I think this is my favorite episode yet.
Oh, for sure.
Hell yeah.
So, and, yeah, go ahead.
You say that and then I'll go.
No, you go ahead.
Well, first I want to make sure we're complete with breath work, because they're telling me to ask you where Chiron is.
That's just where I was about to go. So look at
Love the way we sync up. Cool. So Chrystopher, where's Chiron?
Well, first let me talk about Saturn.
Happy Saturn return! I got to celebrate Chrystopher's
For everyone that does not know, Saturn is currently at 6 degrees of Aquarius. When I was born, Saturn was at 6 degrees 9 minutes of Aquarius, and he just went through 6 degrees and 9 minutes early this morning. So today, in this moment, is my exact Saturn return. And for those of you who are not aware of what that means that Saturn has now made his return back to the exact point in the zodiac where he was when I was born. You all get a Saturn return, or 2 or 3 if you live long enough, but most of us will get 2 or 3, and they represent different rites of passage into a new level of adulthood. The first one, which I'm taking now, is kind of you could say a hazing process. If you're not ready for it, Saturn will kick your ass. And I'm talking about Saturn specifically for a reason. And it's because it ties in with Chiron, and I'll go into that in a minute. So Saturn has now returned to 6 degrees and 9 minutes of Aquarius. So everyone born around when I was born, we're going through our first Saturn return. And this is an incredible time for me, but this is also an incredible time for the planet and for healing, because tomorrow Saturn will make an exact sextile to Chiron. This is one of the main themes that are going to run out throughout 2021. So 2020, we experienced the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, Mars and Aries for 6 months, 9 planets in retrograde at the same time. This was so many things about 2021, but this year is all about the future, and Saturn is going to try to hold that back, okay? That's what he does. It's his job. And that's a good thing. That resistance and that restriction can actually make more happen because we want to push past it. So Saturn is gearing up to make an exact square, which is tense and challenging and conflicting with Uranus. And that will be the star of the show this year. And that will happen 3 times, February 17th, June 14th, and December 24th. So they're going to go away from each other. They're going to retrograde, come back. They're going to go away from each other, go forward again, move back over each other. So that's 3 times throughout 2021. During that time, Chiron is going to receive a sextile from Saturn the whole time as well. So sextiles are opportunities or potentials, and sextiles are looked at as positive because it's like someone handing you something and you have to reach out and take it. A trine, which is 120 degrees, is like something that just falls in your lap. You can kind of look at it that way. A sextile is something you have to activate yourself. Maybe not consciously. We all activate sextiles sometimes. We might receive a little zhuzh of something, and I don't. There is someone here who's really funny, okay? And because anyway, you receive a little nudge, is the word I would use, and would act on that even if you don't even know what the hell a sextile is, okay? But for those of you who do know now, Saturn makes that 60-degree angle to Chiron. This means that we have an opportunity to take more time set with our healing. We have an opportunity and a potential, if we want to do the work. And here's the thing about Saturn. He is the planet of hard work, discipline, but he's also the planet of karma and time. He's Father Time. And we give him all these different names, but it's all this energy. Time restricts. It's an illusion, but the feeling of time is very Saturnian. And this discipline, this hard work, he rewards your hard work. And it seems like this mythical being up there just, okay, you did what I told you to do. No, that's karma. You put it into effect, and Saturn is real. He's realism. He's realistic. It's everything in the physical world. He is not about you taking your energy to something higher. He's about you doing something more and in the physical world, how you structure your life. And we have an opportunity to heal in very, you could even say grown-up ways, because Saturn wants you to move to a higher state, not of consciousness, but of life, of success, of dependability too, depending on yourself, responsibility. So we have a responsibility as a collective and an opportunity to heal majorly, collectively at this time. And so what they're showing me right now is a lot of people, oh God, I need to hear this. Sometimes I don't even get my own messages from them until I'm doing a reading for somebody else. Probably because that's when I'm open to it.
How it works, you guys. It's how we get messages.
Okay. So a lot of us right now are purging things that are collective. And I've heard this before, but this is very much happening right now. And they're showing me this is going to happen regardless. This Saturn sextile Chiron thing is, here's how it's working. We're healing. You and I are very active in that process. You and I do not enjoy being unhappy.
No, we don't.
Some people get unhappy and they are comfortable there.
Comfortable. Mm-hmm.
They are. That's all they know, or that's all they think they're worth. And they can actually live for 40 years like that.
Yeah.
I can't live for a few days like that. Okay. And I'm not saying I'm always happy. When I'm not happy, I am looking to either feel it now, because sometimes I say, just sit with it, Chrystopher. Just because you're feeling unhappy doesn't mean that you need to go find a remedy for it. Okay. And I'm not going out and drinking and smoking and whatever, doing drugs, but I might book a reading with somebody, or I might, maybe I need to do this more. Maybe you just need to sit back and just let yourself feel it sometimes. And I get that, but we're very active in that process. Yes, this is giving us a little nudge. When Saturn comes into any equation, you have a kind of a strict father coming in, and he's being really loving right now with this Chiron thing. Okay. Now with our future, our technology, the way this collective is going to awaken into a new paradigm, Saturn is holding that back a little bit. He's saying, don't rush into that. That's Saturn square Uranus. You all will have all of that. But because here's what's happening. I need to say this so everyone knows, because we all need to know somewhere in us, even if you don't remember this, I've activated it in your subconscious. This
Yes.
Uranus and Taurus thing, there's so many things being restructured and we are awakening and things are being revolutionized. We're coming back to old ways of doing things. Physical things are becoming new again. I mean, the way that, gosh, they're showing me growing food in your kitchen hydroponically or something. That's very Uranus and Taurus. So where there's this new way of doing that, which is sturdy and stable and has always been. And Saturn coming in and squaring that, we have a lot of new ideas coming in, do we not? There are so many new things flooding in right now in the collective. And a lot of the people receiving this, all the scientists, actors, anybody, they're getting all this too. So we're coming up with new ways of doing business, new ways of healing, new ways of living our life, getting sudden and intense desires to do something different with our life or change something, and these things are coming suddenly, and it's kind of getting erratic or chaotic, especially if you have things being activated for you specifically in your own transits that's specific to us individually. So but Saturn is saying, you're getting all these ideas, write them down, and now start putting them into some type of practice. And where are all these ideas going to go in the long term? Saturn is hard, he's a motherfucker, but he wants you to think about, all right, I get that you now have the technology to create holograms of yourselves now, but hold on, let's hold that back a little bit. Let's make sure we release it to them, not just when they're ready, because sometimes we've got technology now that we weren't ready for 50 years ago, even though they had it. Okay? This has been around for 50 years. They've had that technology. Okay? So, but Saturn's going to hold it back now so that we can really get clear and focused on what all of these ideas that are coming in, because Uranus can really release some chaos. Okay? And then underneath all of that is this vibration that's saying, what kind of work can you put into transmuting your own pain?
This is a very healing year. This year will bring a lot of healing, a lot of magic coming forward. I've loved seeing people awaken. I'm seeing it in many, many places, not just in my work, but in my personal life. And it's so interesting, like the spiritual stuff that I receive, because you really dig into the astrology, and I'm like real basic on astrology, so hearing about the sextile and it lining up with the things that we saw as we did our predictions for the year are things that you're saying right now about what's going on astrologically. So yes. I love hearing that.
Yeah, it also means that we're on time.
We are in perfect timing. Same with the technology. What we're receiving is in the divine timing and the perfect timing. And that underlying chaos, what they told me was you all see that already. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's more and different, but it's like a continual,
Yes.
So it's not anything going to go crazy or new coming up, but it is that continual chaos that we've had going that's taking us into this awakening.
Yes.
I love that.
All right.
Chrystopher, tell us what you've got going on this week.
All right. So if you are not already following me on Instagram and TikTok, you should at the@astromedium. I also am the in-house intuitive astrologer for Eclipse over Roswell here in Atlanta, Georgia. If you're in the Atlanta area, we do classes every Wednesday night. I now have another class that I'm starting I want to talk a little bit about as well. So we do weekly astrology classes on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and anyone of all levels is welcome to join. It's $10. You can go to visiteclipse.as.me/astro to register for that. And you can come in person, but we do it on Zoom as well. So I have actually more participants on Zoom now from all over the country than I do sitting in the room. It's actually really cool. So I am also starting a new class on Sunday evenings. I think it will also be at 7, Empaths Anonymous. So this is a support group and a 12-step program for empaths and highly sensitive people. So please check that out. And if you want to check those more in depth, you can go to eclipseoverroswell.com. Jessica, what do you have going on?
Oh, I love that. Those are awesome. I love hearing about your new empath class. I saw that pop across my Instagram feed, and that's really exciting. So if you're not following me, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at the Jessica Tanselle. You can also book readings with me at thejessicatanselle.com. And I do have a regular Monday night intuitive witch circle that I lead. Tonight we worked with spirit guides. Next week we're going to be going into past lives. This class can be any levels, all intuitives. We do mediumship, we work with psychic skills, and we work with spirituality. So all are welcome. We'd love to have you every Monday, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is through Zoom. And I have my next spiritual retreat coming up March 12th through the 14th here in Kentucky.
Very good.
I cannot wait. The last one was beautiful, Chrystopher. We didn't get to really talk much about that, but it was like,
this is the goddess retreat.
Beautiful community. Yeah, it was bougie and perfect and beautiful.
Good.
And it was wild and sweet. So I look forward to the many people, and we'll have an intimate group, but to those that will be there in March. And if you're looking for a spiritual retreat, feel free to reach out to me, because I really like to connect to each person separately to make sure that my retreat's going to be a good fit for you. So those are the things I have going on. I have a few slots left in my full moon ceremony, and the full moon's not till February 27th, but that books quickly. So that in person at Healing Within Louisville, I would love to see you at the full moon ceremony. It's one of my favorite things to do. Awesome.
And just if anyone else watching, remember we've got a super stellium in Aquarius already in effect right now. For some, this will be the last time this ever happened. So this is a somewhat rare experience, and the super stellium will really be super on February 11th when we have the new moon in Aquarius. So there will be 6 planets and 1 asteroid in Aquarius. This is really, that's like tilting the scale to one energy so heavily. And for Uranus to be one of the stars of this year, and he rules Aquarius, I want everyone to be noticing that. So this is a very powerful month. This is they're showing me like a rocket. There's all this smoke happening right now, and we think something really cool is happening, but it hasn't even taken off yet.
It's getting ready.
So I'm excited. It's getting ready, baby.
Getting ready. Awesome. Chrystopher and I will be back next Monday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are so grateful for you all hanging out with us tonight. Chrystopher,
yes.
I love you.
I love you. Thank you for joining us for the Chronicles of Chiron, the Lion, the Witch, and the Healer. Everyone, have a good night.
Good night, you guys.